this is going to be my next project. I'll be upgrading the bar situation that we have. So what we're using right now is just a simple Ikea Kallax cabinet over here, and we have some turntables so that we can access all the alcohol. I think this works well. So what I want to do is just improve the aesthetics of it. So first thing I want to do is to elevate this Kallax so that it's the same height as the fridge. Second of all, I want to add in some cabinet doors so that it kind of covers up all the alcohol and gives it a cleaner look. And third of all, I'll be adding a wooden countertop to the top to kind of frame it all together. For the back of this Kallax, as the depth is not as deep for the Kallax as the fridge, there's some dead space over here. I'm thinking that I won't be closing off the back of this Kallax. What I'll do instead is for the top row, to prevent the alcohol from falling backwards by accident, I'll add thin strips of wood over here, kind of like as a railing. And then for the bottom layer, I'm just going to keep it open. So if we do have too much alcohol that doesn't fit in these 4 cubes, what we can do is just slip out this tray over here, and then we can put the alcohol behind the Kallax on the floor in the dead space, so it will be extra storage. So yeah, this will be how I do the back of the Kallax. So for the legs, I bought these 4-inch wooden legs from Amazon. All you have to do is drill a hole first. So I'm using a 1/2-inch circular drill. So you drill your hole first, and then you attach this metal piece over here, screw in your 3 screws, and then you just screw the wooden leg onto this metal piece here. Careful when drilling your hole for the Kallax because it's actually hollow on the inside. So once you pass through this, I'd say it's like I think it's like a 1/2-inch piece of MDF, then it's an empty cavity, and then there's a thin piece of wood at the top. So if you don't slow down your drill, it will shoot through really quickly once it reaches the empty cavity, and you'll get a hole at the front. This is the cane webbing that I'll be using for the cabinet doors. I purchased this off Etsy. I'll link it down below. It comes in a big roll, and you can see in its current form it's a little bit hard and slightly brittle. So to make it easier to work with, I'm going to soak it in warm water for 15 to 20 minutes. This will help to soften it up and make it a little bit looser. Having it a bit looser is good because when you staple it on, you want to pull it tight, and then as the webbing dries up, it will become even tighter. And this is good because it will prevent your webbing from looking loose and not firm once you finish the cabinet and staple everything together. So yeah, I'm going to go and soak it in now, and careful to just soak it for about 15 to 20 minutes, not too much longer, otherwise the webbing will turn a little bit grey in color as it soaks up too much water. So I finished stapling the one webbing to the cabinet, and I think it looks great. Here are some tips that I've kind of found out as I've gone through this process. One is always staple from the one side and pull the webbing tight as you go. If you're right-handed, you should go in the direction that you should be using your right hand to staple, because it's quite hard to staple, and then use your left hand to pull tight. I did it wrong in the beginning. I started from this side, so it was kind of awkward, so I had to pull with my right and then staple with my left. So this is not very ideal. So take note of the direction and whether you're right-handed or left-handed. I think it's very important. Second is don't cut your webbing down to size all in one go. So here's an example. I haven't finished stapling the side. So if I have extra length, I can pull the rattan tighter as I staple, versus, for example, if I had already cut it short and I only have like this little piece to hold on, so it's very hard to pull it tight. So yeah. And then in terms of stapling, I'm just using a staple gun. Mine is this Arrow brand, which uses these T50 staples that are 1/4 inch. For my one, I like this one because it has this blue line here, which kind of guides you to where the nail will shoot out of. And also for this one, it kind of has like 2 steps. So if I go like this, it doesn't shoot it out yet. But if I click down the second step, then the nail comes out. So the tip for nail guns is, staple gun, is that you have to go in really quick on the second step. If you go too slow, the nail doesn't have enough force to drive into the wood, and it could like sit like skew or on top of the wood. So just take note of the speed. If you find that the nails aren't going in and you're not sure why, just make sure on the second step, push really hard and really quick. This is the butcher block that I'm going to be using for the bar table. In terms of cutting it, I'm using a circular saw, and I've changed the blade to one with like finer teeth. This will help to ensure that the cut is cleaner and less rough looking. Yep, and just one thing to take note on is for the butcher block, once you remove this outer packaging, you have to seal the wood within 48 hours. This is to prevent moisture from coming into contact with the wood, which could damage the wood. So the blade for our circular saw doesn't go that deep once we have all the guides on, so I can only make a kind of like a half cut. So now I've flipped it over, I'm going to do the same thing from the back, and that should help me to get a clean cut for the butcher block. Next, I'm going to smooth out these sharp edges. What I'm going to do is take the sander and go in at a slight angle on all the edges, making sure to apply even pressure as I go. So hopefully the end product should be a very even, beveled, kind of like rounded edge to all the edges of this countertop. Lastly, in terms of staining and protecting the wood, as we're not going to be prepping food on this. This is just kind of a countertop for aesthetic purpose. I'm just going to use a water-based polyurethane in matte finish to go through and cover this countertop. If your countertop is going to be for prepping food, or if it's in the kitchen, then probably don't use something like this. Use a food grade